Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Amy, the Mystic Rose Tarot, and we are Saturday, October 24th, a little bit after 2 p.m. And I am here to share a surprise deck that I received. Like a few weeks ago, and I wanted to set it aside during the week of Samhain to showcase this deck. So I left very little information about what this deck is about. I did hint a little bit on Instagram the style of deck that this is. This is a Marseille style deck, and I'm really excited to show this to you. It's my first Marseille deck. It's a deck that it's a style that I haven't fully explored yet. Excuse me. And it is, I have been looking for Marseille decks for over the last few months, looking online at videos, and I found one that I thought I was really going to lean more towards, but I decided to hold off. If there's a deck that kind of has me 50-50, I'm not going to jump on it and take a chance and then find out it's just something that I won't be using. That's only happened to me twice. And luckily I was placed in a situation where I can either return the deck or pass it down to someone else. But I don't like doing that. I like to find a deck that I feel very attuned to, and that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's a deck that's going to stay in my family, my tarot family, for a while. So when it came to Marseille, I was coming across a few videos, musings by Masha. She has a very wide spectrum of Marseille decks. And she's very versed with Marseille. So I was looking at her channels and one or two other people. And then I saw this one particular deck that the people whose videos I were looking at that specialized in Marseille, I came across this one particular deck and I looked at it. I was like, that has some potential. That's a possibility. So the way I do my deck purchases is, if there's something that's an interest, I kind of let it sit for a little bit, and like for a few weeks, maybe a month or so, no more than a month, I guess. And then if I come across it again, I'll look at the video, I'll watch the walkthroughs or whatever, and then see if I feel a little bit more inspired to getting the deck. And that's what happened with this one. So when I was looking at Marseille decks earlier this summer, I came across a few. I saw this one in particular, and it's like, but it didn't wow me all the same, because I was focusing on a certain a particular practice with my tarot. And so I really wasn't focused on the Marseille. So then recently, this deck came up again in someone's video, and it gave me a different feel. It's like, wow, this is really nice. And I looked at some of the videos that I had looked earlier regarding this deck. And I was just like, I think I have to get it. And I mulled over it. I don't like to jump into things. I really like to, really see where I'm putting my investment in. I mulled over it. And then what kind of clinched it for me is one of the YouTubers who practices tarot have mentioned that this particular company was not going to be making decks anymore, tarot decks. It's a company that does tarot decks. They do other kinds of spiritual products that they have. But when I found out that they were no longer going to be producing tarot decks, it's like, okay, I have to get it. So I'm going to start dropping little hints. It's from Baba Barak. I always want to call it Baba Rock. Baba Barak It's a company based out in Ireland. And I'm going to do it like this. So it's in here. This is actually my reading cloth. Okay, here we go. I got the Mythical Creatures Tarot. This deck came out earlier this year, and that's how I came across the deck when people start receiving their decks and they start doing reviews of it. And as I'm holding it, I'm just like, I'm happy I have this. It's definitely a jewel of a tarot, and you'll see why when we do the walkthrough. I like it so much I still have the wrapping on it. So the wrapping's staying on until it falls apart. It's starting to get widened, so it's going to be falling off soon. So the Mythical Creatures Tarot, and it's created by Karen Mahony. It's a 3-member endeavor. Karen Mahony, Alex Ukolov, Elena Kozachuk, and it was printed in Poland. We have the creators right here, and you see here the spine, the name of the tarot, and the box itself. I'm just going to lift up the plastic. It's matte. The letters, they're not really raised, but it has gold trim around it. Now, what's very unique about this deck, there we go, you could see it. The technique that they did for the box and for the decks is a cold press printing technique. And so apparently there's no metallic inks in this, from what I was told, but there's definitely highlights, as you could see here in this deck. And I like it because it's not so obvious. You have to move. This is the box, but for the cards, you have to move the cards in a certain manner to really pick up on the shimmer. So I like it because it's subtle and it's not that distracting till light comes in at a certain angle and it hits it, and then you can see it. The borders, they're ornate, they're gold, and not really embossed. They're just sort of printed right on top. And the coloring is more like a warmish red that you see here. Here it's coming up cooler. The camera on my laptop reads the colors on the cooler side. So this is like a warm red. And then I wish they put the seal. There's a seal here on the back, right here. They put it on the wrapper. I wish they put it on the box. It's a seal because I'll address this in a future video. There's just been an onslaught of counterfeiters for tarot decks and oracle decks. That's actually part of the reason that BabaStudios is no longer creating tarot decks, because it sounds like they're one of the companies that's getting hit by this, by counterfeiters, people replicating their decks, and they're selling them for half the price, even below half price. And I'm a visual artist, and that's not cool. That doesn't sit with me at all. So they put this seal just to show that it is from the company itself and that it is an authentically made product. You can sort of see there it says genuine by BabaStudios. I wish they put it on the box, but anyhow, it doesn't matter. I'll keep it. I'll keep the wrapper just for just to show that this label is part of this packaging for BabaStudios. So then we have the back here. I'm mumbling a little bit here, and it just gives a brief description. The Mythical Creatures Tarot brings the symbolism and mythology of fantastic beings from around the world to a beautiful set of cards. Wide-ranging, The images include dragons, unicorns, mermaids, Melusines, as well as the banshee, the vampire, the fairy queen, and many, many more. So this was the other appeal for me in getting this deck. Because if you come across my channel, I've mentioned on the odd occasion, depending on what I'm talking about, that I'm an animal nature lover. So I look for either that specifically in some of the decks I work with, or some influences or some nuances that are put into tarot decks that incorporates that kind of energy. And this does, but it does it, as the title says, in a mythological manner. So we have all these creatures, they're all illustrated, and you'll see the detail in this. It's definitely one of the more beautiful Marseille-inspired decks. This isn't a direct Marseille deck. Like reproductions, this is an inspired one. So you'll see when we go through the deck, when we get to the minor arcana, you'll see in the pips where you see the Marseille style and influence in there. So I'm sorry, I keep looking at this deck I got like 2 weeks ago. I'm just like, Okay, so I'm going to open it up here. And I've already gone through the deck. I've already done a quick reading, and I'll share that card with you. So this is this can be used as a bookmarker or just something to have standing by. It's no card that is related to the deck. So it's this here, and it has, I'm going to try and go up close. Luckily, these are matte, so you can sort of see a little bit information. It's kind of hard here. Right here on the top of her coat, here, this gets highlighted. And this is so beautiful because it does remind me of the forest out here in the mountains. And it's such a beautiful scene and the way the lighting comes in. So this is just like a bookmarker. It says here, thank you for choosing a Baba Barak design by BabaStudios. It has the website on the back. And I'll just show it to you. This is what it says. It's just a plate. And where to order the deck. So the deck is still available, but there's no more, as far as I understand and from what I was told, once this deck has been sold, that's it. So when you hear stuff like that, it's actually pretty upsetting because studios and artists are working extremely hard, and painstakingly hard to create these decks. A lot of these tarot decks, they're 78 cards, some are even more. And that takes time. I have one deck from an artist who spent 10 years on it. And great, she did it independently, gratefully for her, it got picked up by a large company, so now it could be distributed worldwide. Again, you may have that risk of counterfeiting, even with independent decks. So I guess nothing's guaranteed, but this is just, it's really upsetting to know that there are people out there. I'm not surprised, like I said, being a visual artist myself, and I've gone through somewhat similar, but I've been able to stop it, catch the people, and tell them, don't do it, or there's going to be an issue. So, but now these are mass-produced products. It's very hard to control, unless you see on eBay or someone's selling something on Facebook, and it's like that's not the real deal. Alrighty, so you open up the box. So inside's a beautiful aqua sea green color. Here it's looking blue, but it's like a sea green aqua marine color. Very nice. I'm trained. I should be wearing gloves, I feel, with this deck. It's pricey. My most pricey deck. And I think that's as far as it's going to go. Because I'm not a deck collector, but this is the deck I'm going to use. So I'm the investment I put into it is going to come back. I don't know if I should get another deck, another one of these. I think I won't. I take care of what I have very carefully, so I'll make sure the way it looks now is the way it's going to look in hopefully 50 years. So the little white book that you do get is just that. It's not really little. It's a small white book, and Mythical Creatures Tarot, and it just goes through the minor arcana, and it gives an explanation of the mythical creatures, and it also goes through the RWS and the Tarot de Marseille interpretations. So I'll pull, when I'm showing the cards, I'll pull 1 or 2 cards and I'll give an explanation of them. There is a book that you can get, a larger book that's full color, and it goes more into the background, the origins of some of the mythical creatures that are represented here, and it goes in more in depth with the interpretations of the minor and major arcana. But this was fine for me. I'm happy with just the basic information. I've mentioned when I've done tarot deck reviews, I don't really like to get too involved in the guidebook. I enjoy, sorry about the lighting, the sun's going to be peeking through probably in a few minutes. I enjoy hearing about the artist's perspective when it came to putting that particular deck together, and the imagery that they used and why they used the imagery the way they did. But I don't like to get too much into it. I just like to look. There's some tarot readers that if there's a guidebook, they don't even look at it. They just give me the deck. They want to get right into the meat of it. They want to look at the pictures. I'm a very detailed person at times, so when it comes to a new deck, I want to savor everything. So I'll look at the book, but ideally my time is going to be spent more with the deck. But yeah, it's 40 pages to go through the minor and major arcanas. Very brief information, again, on all the mythical creatures that are in here. And let me grab another sip of water, and we're going to get right into this. Alrighty. I hope everyone's doing good. We're exactly a week away to Samhain and Halloween, so I hope, in spite of what's going on, I hope everyone's getting into the spirit of things. I definitely am. As soon as I'm done with this, I have a pumpkin. I just cleaned it out before doing this video, and then I'm going to carve it, and I'm going to get that pumpkin out on my porch and continue on with my tradition for Halloween. Okay, so you get a title card, and this, you can't really see it. Oh, well. I mean, as I tilt it up, you can sort of see where the highlights are coming in. It's very hard. I need my sunlight to come in, and I'll really pick this up. This has a little bit of a nice sheen to it, a little bit of a shimmer. But right now my lighting's flat, so you can't really see it. So anyhow, here's the title card, and it gives the same information as to what's on the deck. The designer, Mahony. Wonderful job, Karen, for doing this. And the artwork, Elena Kozachuk and Alexander Ukolov. Wonderful work. Watercoloring. Now this was the other amazing aspect. Watercoloring, Geraldine Woessner with Alexander Ukolov. Now, the original version of this, I think it was the limited edition. I'm trying to think. The original version of this was just black and white. So the images that were shown, which I will show you, were just line drawings. And so there were black line drawings against a simple background. And it made it kind of hard to kind of decipher the images, especially when you're going to be working with Marseille-inspired pips. There's so much ornate work that's going into those designs that it could sort of get lost. And so I liked the idea, like I said, and not knowing that they already have released the color version, I was saying I would love to see this deck in color because I think it would make so much sense. And as I was going through other videos, people were like, they can't see the artwork. So BabaStudios did a color version. That's the version that I have, and that's what's currently released. So this is the back of all the cards. And it's just a mirror. So you could do reversals with this, it's no problem. And the minor arcana, because I used it, it is not in order, but my pips are. So I'm not going to go through all the deck, so I don't want to give all of it away, but you'll get a sense. I'll pull a few cards from the pips and a few cards from the major arcana. But as I mentioned, I did do a reading after I got this deck, but only with the major arcana. Something was just telling me, just let's focus with the major arcana for now. And so I did, just random, just shuffled. And the card that came to me was pretty interesting because it kind of relates to a reading that I have been working with, or working on for a client. And there's a common thread that was going throughout this person's reading. And it was all about balance and, putting more structure and harmony in your life. And so once that reading was done and it was delivered to the client, and I had the moment to start working with this deck, I shuffled and I pulled the major arcana card and I got Temperance. So I guess I could have been carrying over the energy from that reading to this time when I was shuffling. So here's an example of the Temperance card. And let me tell you, I don't know a Temperance card. Bear with me here one moment. Let me see here. It is the Rebus. I'll just read it here really quickly. The creatures that we see here, I'm going to refer to the beings that we see here as creatures or entities. The Rebus, this represents Temperance, meaning dual or double matter, is the culmination of the alchemical process. It represents the successful fusion of sun and moon, male and female, light and dark. And then I'll give an example for the Tarot de Marseille. Meaning for this is more like moderation, self-restraint in matters of desires and pleasures, balance, integration, mediation, sobriety, health, medication. Which I think that's kind of odd to kind of describe temperance. I wouldn't use the word medication for temperance, but I understand the intention of it, but I wouldn't use medication for this card. This card is purely balance. And we see the two different alchemical coloring here. Gold. This could be silver if you want to read it as silver. And we have male, female, but they're all joined in one body. And here we have the moon. And usually we would see Temperance with one foot in the water and the other foot that's on ground for stability. And then we have up above, we have the sun. So we have the balance between these two realms, the conscious and the subconscious. And this is where they are right now. They're in the present, they're in the now. And again, the back's all the same throughout. And I want to keep them, I still want to point out the detail that's involved in this deck and the watercolor job, work, discipline that this person put in. Can't even see it here. There is so much detail right in here that I wish I wish this camera could pick it up. It's wonderful. So that's Temperance, and there is still the cold press technique where certain highlights and colors throughout the card, including the border, have a nice shimmering detail to it. So that's my card that I picked. That was my opening card, just doing a reading regarding this deck. So if I want to call this an interview deck or an interview reading, the card that came up was Temperance. So I have no problem having Temperance as a reminder for this deck. You know, when you do readings, you have to take your time regardless. Another thing, I will point that out later because I don't want to sidetrack too much. Okay, so the light is slowly moving over here. Okay, so I'm going to go through the cards. I'm going to slide them so you can take a look. Here's our Sun card. And the Sun card, I believe, is there's another card that's similar to this, and I want to get the correct name. Sun is the Firebird. Let's see if we can. We just could barely see, but there's shimmer right all along here on the edges of the sunflower on the top of the Firebird. I'm trying to get these out of order. The Hierophant. I'll just put out a quick blurb. Next year is a 5-year. Normally the Hierophant is the 5 card in the Major Arcana. And next year, 2021, is going to be a 5-year. 5 is for the tarot card of the year is the Hierophant. The Hierophant is ruled by Taurus. We're currently in Aries. We're moving our way out from Aries. And the Hierophant represents traditional values. Going back to core basics. Being a little bit more conventional in our ways. And coming from the US, and we're just a week away from our elections, I think this card is a good significator to welcome 2021. So let's see what the Hierophant holds for us next year. Okay, there we go. So I got a little bit of light. See right there on the top? We got a little bit of shimmering coming in. And if you look at other people's videos, they'll say the same thing. You have to see the deck in person. And that's our Hierophant. And then for the Hermit, I had these names all memorized when I first got the deck because I spent like hours with it. The Hermit, this is the dragon. And again, you see the highlight on the borders right there. And then you see a little bit on the body of the Hermit. And I'll briefly read the Hermit, why the dragon was chosen. Now we have to keep in mind too, because there are no human representation in this deck. It's primarily creatures. So the interpretation of the Hermit, the major arcanas, the Hierophant, they're going to be represented by mythological creatures. So I'm going to have to think a little differently, but it still applies. So the Hermit here is explained as dragons are solitary creatures, and oddly enough, seem nearly always to be portrayed as male. Not necessarily, but we do see that. They are powerful beyond human reckoning. They represent the power of fire within all four elementary realms: air, fire, water, and earth. Their solitary nature is not lonely, but self-sufficient and enduring. That's the description for the Hermit, the mythical creatures. So again, I'll just tilt it back a little bit, turn it. And also the lettering here, the first two capital letters, or the first letter, depending on how many words are in here, have the same kind of highlight. You can sort of see it here. It's a cold press technique applied to it. And here's our Wheel of Fortune, representing the 3 stages of life that women go through: maiden, mother, crone. I know some people in the witch community, pagan community, they don't appreciate that because some feel it's stereotyping. I'm fine with this. I'm not taking offense to any of those terms, maiden, mother, crone. They're all empowering terms to describe women through different stages in their lives. So here's the Wheel of Fortune. And again, there's the highlights a little bit of the shimmer right there on the border. And then we see right there on the lettering, Wheel of Fortune. And what's interesting is this is the white cockerel on top of the lion, which is an interesting representation of the bird overtaking the lion. It still represents strength. I lost my train of thought. I'll just keep going. So with strength, let's see what we have here. Interesting. The white cockerel symbolizes the martyr in Christian belief as a symbol for someone who will die for their faith. It is a powerful manifestation of strength of will, strength of belief, and courage of conviction. So having the strongest faith in what you believe in and what you stand firm will get you through any challenging times. And here's our Chariot, represented by Poseidon. I did. Yes, I did. And thank you for the video, Moon of Fortune. It is beautiful. This is a deck that I am gonna work with. It's not a collecting deck. This is a deck that I'm gonna definitely use. Here's Justice. I feel like I want to explain each and every one of these cards, but I would be here for hours. So if anyone else who's watching, they have any questions about the deck, I'll do my best to answer them. I didn't get the book though. I passed on the book. I had mentioned earlier that guidebooks I take with a grain of salt. I love hearing the information of what the creator has to say about their deck and how they feel about it and their perspective that I put into it. I don't like to read too much into it. So I tend to just put the guidebook off to the side. So I just got the deck with the white book, and I'm totally happy with it. Though the tarot the Marseille meanings in this are kind of interesting. There's one here for the King of Coins on the back of the white book. This is the King of Coins, obviously. It says here, what is it? Well, yeah, I guess it's fine. Some of the meanings here, they just seem, for Tarot de Marseille, just seem kind of off. I don't know why. Yeah. And that's what I appreciate about this deck, because I enjoy something like this, something where it doesn't focus so much on people and everyday circumstances. My decks are very animal, mentioning this a few times already. My decks are animal nature oriented. And this takes the best of both worlds. It just puts it now into in a fantastical perspective. And I like this. This moon is quite evil, the card itself, because we have the werewolf, and then you have to look very closely. Okay, so the moon is all illusionary. We have to be careful with it. It is very intoxicating to look at the moon. It's very mesmerizing, and it can take you in. It's feminine energy, and not that that's bad, but this card more or less represents the negative aspects, the possibilities, by being lost in the illusion, in your subconscious realm, and not taking care of matters and just staying there. So here we have the full moon, and here we have the werewolf holding a victim, and here we see all the previous victims that have been swallowed up by the moon. And I thought that's pretty clever. Also, another interpretation is this person, this could be their subconscious, this could be the negative, this could be the darker side of this person's persona that's being revealed. And this could be all the entities that this person may have harmed, either intentionally or unintentionally. So it has two different meanings. But this card was, the moon cards in a lot of tarot decks are just, some of their depictions are just incredible. Yes, I know, American Werewolf in London. Kind of looks like it, doesn't it? But I don't know about a favorite. This one is definitely nice just because the way it interprets the moon, because it's our conscious side going into our subconscious side, the subconscious being revealed and showing the darker side of who we are. It's pretty clever. And then the Fool, which is on the cover. I kept the wrapping, which is on the cover of the Mythical Tarot, Creatures Tarot. And I'm trying to show the highlights here, which is, you could just see it up on top. Correct. That's right, Moon of Fortune. Narcissism. And we're all these things that I've mentioned and that you brought up, these are all varying aspects of our own personality. And it's just making that awareness of, the darker side of who we are and exploring it. Some people don't like the moon card because of that. But I'm going to start doing shadow work in about 2 weeks. And I may use this deck. I'm not certain yet. I really want to feel comfortable with the deck before I start doing anything that's involving personal work. So we'll see. We'll see. But this deck is definitely winning me. I'm looking up because my lighting is just, it's hiding now behind a tree. The other card, this one I thought was beautifully done as well. And we have this, I forgot the name, it's in the book. I don't want to keep going back to the book. We have this creature. If I remember the story that it was saying in the book is, I think this is Scandinavian, the sea creature that would just literally live and destroy ships. And as we know, the tower is all about breaking down, letting go of past ways of thinking, old habits, similar to the death card. But here with the tower, it's complete annihilation. And the tower is normally ruled by Mars and Pluto. So we have this. It's not, and these creatures that are in this deck, they're not scary. You know, they're not frightening. It's not gory. The Emperor. I thought this was the bull, but this is a Minotaur. And I'm going to go here a little closer. So being steadfast, but also direct, making sure everything is being done in a certain manner. This card, though, interesting enough, I don't see any indication of it representing Aries because I'm so used to the RWS interpretation. So I'm looking for aspects of that, and I don't feel it in this card. But I can still use those interpretations of, you know, leadership and putting things, structure into the way that you have things working. Usually with the Emperor, I'm looking for some form of energetic movement in the background, which in a way I think we sort of have. But for me, this reads so much as a Taurus. I look at the stability aspect of it. But here's the Emperor. Lovers is beautiful. The Mermaid. And again, all the cards, they still have the same cold pressing. And the Phoenix for Judgment. Moon of Fortune. Have you worked with the deck recently? Here we have the World representing all the 4 fixed signs. We have Aquarius, Scorpio's the Eagle, Taurus the Bull, and then the Lion for Leo. And then we have the Ouroboros. And the completion, full cycle, starting up again. We go back to the beginning. You got the large size. Did you get the color version or the black and white version? It is. I have to read up more about the backgrounds. That's probably where the other book would come in handy, but I'll do so at another time. And here's the Vampire for the Devil. For seduction, holding on to personal addictions, obsessiveness. And again, like the Moon card, this could be a reflection of who we are. But seeing it face to face. masculine side, feminine side. You have the colored. Yeah, the colored version, I saw the black and white version, and it was very hard. It's already sold out, but it was very hard to read the cards. And I had mentioned earlier, when I saw that, it's like, God, it'd be nice if they did this in color, not knowing that they had already done a color version of this deck. We have the Hangman. I want to call this the Hanged Person. And whenever I get the Hangman, I always have to flip the card upside down or right side up, depending on how you want to see this. Because I don't know, I feel there's some feminine energy in the shape of the body as well. Like the belly is rounded. So it's fine, it's the Hangman, but I feel feminine energy for some reason because of the shape coming from this deck. The Hangman is ruled by Neptune. And I'm just mentioning the astrological aspects because I've been practicing astrology and bringing it into my tarot. I'm not an astrologer, but the astrological aspects. So when I say planetary signs in relation to the major arcana or the minor arcana, it's to share with you, but also to remind me the representation of those cards. I may mess up one of the planets, so my apologies if I do. If I do, please correct me on it. But the Hangman's all about reversing the perspective and changing things around when you've gone as far as you can. You feel like you've done everything possible and you need to change those things around. And Neptune comes in with the Hangman to really go from the conscious state, turning yourself upside down, to look within yourself. And Neptune is about the unknown, the mysterious, needing to explore those aspects. It's definitely all about the subconscious aspect for the Hangman. Do you have any decks, or do you have a deck that gives the Spanish interpretation of the Hangman, but represented the way that you just explained? The Polari. I would think a Marseille deck would probably have something like that. Here's our magician, known as the Magus. Okay. Can you tell me, Moon of Fortune, are you more of a Marseille practitioner when it comes to your tarot? Because this is my La Picota. This is my first Marseille deck, so I want to make sure that what deck I get is something that will resonate with me and feed my interest spiritually and also visually, and this deck does it. So I love this the more I look at it. So we have the Magician, the Magus for this version, holding, not even holding. Here we have the sword floating right at mid-level. The cup is right there. The wand is there. And the one thing, I believe, this is our pentacle, very small. The elements are small. And the Magician is about mastering these tools. The Magician is the second card in the tarot. And this is our introduction to what's going to lead us from the major arcana into the minor arcana. We are having to learn how to work with these tools, how to understand them, how they can guide us and how they could hurt us. You have to, the word that's used to describe the Magician is master. We have to really respect and understand how these tools work to our benefits but also understand how they could go against us if we don't work with them properly. So it's very important. The magician is very powerful for all of that because this person has built the time and understanding. The magician could also be the fool once it's gone through its cycle and now it's at its new state of experience. So it goes around. And when you really think about it, the fool could actually can be a representation of the whole major arcana. Because the fool is the zero, starts off the journey, meets the magician, the high priestess. It goes through all these different steps, meets all these different influences, and it learns. And it gets to the world. It understands. And then it goes back again, and it matures to the next level. So I would also see the magician as the fool, but in a higher knowledge form. That's why I think I wanted to go with the Marseille, to just explore the intuitive side a little deeper. I put a little blurb on Instagram stating that a little bit about what I just said, that how the Marseille helps you focus more on, we have the number of the pips and stuff, but there's no scenes. Like I mentioned, there's no humans, there's no animals in that sense. It's all the symbology, and it's how your mind picks up on those images and how you interpret it and the meaning numerically. You bring all those two together. And I think this deck would be a wonderful exercise to work for building your intuition and growing from it. Thank you. I already am loving this. Here's our high priestess, who is the Sphinx. Let me see. Okay. And then we have the Empress. Moon of Fortune, do you have a favorite card from this deck? Is there one particular card or series of cards that just speaks out to you? The Empress is ruled by Venus, Earth, the Creatrix, fertility, abundance, maternal care. Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned that the intuition will breathe. It feels like with the Rider-Waite-Smith, you're almost, I wouldn't say you're forced, but it feels like when you go through the Rider-Waite-Smith decks, inspired decks, there's that pattern. There's, when you get the Three of Cups, this is what it should be. But I think you hit it right there on the nail. Without those images of, humans, animals, things that we normally relate with, it challenges the way that we see. The Marseille challenges the way we see and what we feel from those decks. So it's quite fascinating, because I know if there's one person who had a Marseille deck and you pass it around the room, everyone's going to have more or less a different interpretation of it. Okay, totally fine. Just wondering if you had a particular favorite. Okay, I'm going to go forward because I'm already an hour into this. I'm just going to show a few from the Minor Arcana. Here's the beginning, the Ace of Wands. I mean, my God, this is just unbelievable, the detail in here. I have a lot of work to do looking at this deck. This is something that I feel like I will have to journal my feelings and how it moves me. Okay, I'm going to go through I'm going to show the court cards. We're still in the same element. Here's our Page of Wands. This one is quite immaculate. The Knight of Wands, where you have the Capricorn and the Lion. You have earth and fire merging. And we have the snakes as well, serpents. So much to read with this. Okay, and here is our Queen of Wands. I think this one is the Efrit for King of Wands. Reminds me a little bit of a genie, but I think that's the same intention. And then we have the flames dancing around. Okay. So that's our wands. Here's our Ace of Cups. Now the coloring, there is a little bit of a similar color element in respect to the element that's being represented. So you saw the wands. We have reds, yellows, and oranges to indicate movement, fire. Here, the cups are like an aqua, almost like the color of the inside of the Mythical Creatures tarot box. It's like an aqua color. So 2 cups. When I look at the pips, there's a jewel feel to it. Because we have these subtle highlights here, like on the borders, and the cold press printing technique picks it up. So there's a bit of a beautiful jewel effect to it. And when going through these cards at first, I started thinking about Yule and Christmas, because there's reds and greens, and those are the colors that are associated for that time of the year. So I started feeling moving in that frame of mind for those holidays. There's our 4 of Cups. Moon of Fortune, what element are you in relation to your sun sign? Are you water, earth, air, or fire? Just a little bit there. And there we go. These horses, the seahorses. You're water, okay. Well, either happy birthday or happy belated birthday. Because we're in the month of Scorpio, so you don't have to tell me if you don't want to. Can you guess? Can you guess? I don't like to give it away just off the bat. Okay, so now I'm going to go to our Page of Cups. Oh, Page of Cups is just beautiful. The Naiad. Just dreamy. Like a ghost nymph from the water, just beautiful. I am earthy, correct? Here's our Knight of Cups. And here we have the boats, sort of holding similar to, is it the crocus or crocum? For the tower, the sea creature, or the octopus. I think it's crocus or crocum. The Queen of Cups. It's funny. I hold the beauty of cups throughout a lot of the tarot decks that I have. The Kraken, thank you. Because it's the one element in my astro chart that I don't have a lot of. So when I see depictions of cups or water elements in tarot cards, I find them just very comforting, very soothing. So Moon of Fortune, you are almost close. I'm Taurus, and Aries is my rising. What made you say Aries? I am curious. Okay, next I'm going to go to the swords or Capricorn. I have Capricorn in my astro chart. I can't remember what house it's in, but it's placed in the house for career. Okay, so here's our Ace of Swords. Now the Ace of Swords, coloring-wise, tends to be more on the blue side. Okay, and I will show you from the cups. It's like a bluey silver for the Ace of Swords. And those are other colors. Swords tend to be associated with yellow, white, but also silver and blue, because blue for the air, silver for dealing with the mind. Get these in order. Okay, I'm gonna go a little quicker. Oh, look at this. Two of Swords. For as difficult as an element that the swords are, this deck makes the swords pleasurable. You know, especially in the pip manner, because we're not seeing anything like, for instance, the Three of Swords. We're not seeing swords impaling the heart or blood dripping or anything, or the heart being broken apart by three swords. It's not as graphic. Here you read it completely in a different frame of mind, literally. Four of Swords. So again, depending on how you're seeing this on your phone or on your computer, the coloring for the swords is more of like a bluey silver. The borders here are green. And I forgot to emphasize too, each border, or the borders for each of the four elements, are different. Here we have like angels with trumpets, and here with the cups, it's kind of hard to see. I almost want to say they're bulls, but they're not, because they have horns. Maybe they are bulls. I don't know. And then with the wands, the bordering, and they're all the same throughout the court cards and major and minor arcana borders. These look like salamanders, which is a creature that's affiliated with wands. Okay, one more of the swords. Look at this. At the skull, the bird, the sword's going through it. Ah, okay. Thank you. I'm happy you feel that I am strong and centered. Some days I don't feel like it. You think North America is good for spirit? Some areas. I'll say some areas. I live in the mountains of Southern California. So the environment, nature-wise, is beautiful. One day when the lighting's a little bit nicer, I will flip my camera around, or flip my computer around, so you can see my outdoors. It's all trees, forest. It's beautiful. Okay, so with our court cards, here's a Page of Swords. And anyone who's jumping in, I haven't mentioned, because it's not on the title, because this is supposed to be a surprise unveiling. This is the Mythical Creatures Tarot by BabaStudios, which is based in Ireland. It was released earlier this year, and it took me some coaxing, thanks to Moon of Fortune and a few other tarot YouTubers that were showcasing this deck. And after, I don't know, 5 months of looking around, I decided to go ahead and make the investment on such a beautiful deck. It's my first Marseille deck, so this is going to be a very wonderful experience for me. I believe this is Pegasus right here, and we have the owls. And owls deals with intuition, wisdom. Okay, this is the Banshee. We have Queen of Swords. Give me a second here. And then we have the King of Swords. I took care of it, Infinite Intuition. Beautiful. Okay, so now I'm going to go into our coins. Okay. The pomegranates representing life. We sometimes see with pentacles, we usually see apples as a form of life source. And here we have the pomegranate, which is for good health and long life. Yes, this is a very special deck. I think what I'll do is, once I'm done with this video review, I'm going to reveal the title of it. Here's our 4 of coins. You have to really look, because there is information going on here. The 4 of coins representing structure, balance, which is greatly influenced for the element of pentacles, material security. And here we go again here. The pentacles, the borders, they look like lions. They're not the animal like we know of the bull to be associated with it. But I'm not wearing my dream catcher. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, wait a second. How did you know? Thank you. I didn't wear it today. I forgot. Okay, so here's our 5 of coins. Okay, and now I'm going to go into our court cards. Ooh. Now we'll show you the back. No, it's totally fine. Just at that quick instant, it's just like, wait, I'm not wearing one. That's totally fine. No need to apologize or anything like that. Thank you, Michelle Ann. Thank you for sharing your name. You have a good night. And thanks for the conversation. I really appreciate that. No need to apologize, Infinite. It's totally fine. So here's a page of coins. The dwarf. Again, these are all mythical creatures that are being represented and having the Marseille-inspired artwork in the minor arcana. This looks like a cross between Pan. It's a different name for this creature in the book, but Knight of Coins, normally represented by Virgo, showing due diligence. Very analytical, very detailed in their work. You don't see it in this card, but overall, when it comes to the Rider-Waite-Smith, that influence is part of the Knight of Coins. Working hard. This one's a stunner. The Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups is also ruled by Capricorn. Capricorn is a sign of discipline, hard work, traditional to some aspect. And those are the influences that's put into that sign when it comes to their personal life and also work life. Oh, the Essential Tarot. Okay. Okay. I'll wear it next time. It's just chilly right now. And so I have my pullover. And it's keeping me warm, but I forgot to put it on today. And King of Coins. The mythical creature for this is the giant. The person who has worked extremely hard and just, I don't want to say languishing, but just grounded with the work that they've done. They're happy they've done what they need to do, and it feels great to be where they are. You don't see it in the giant, in the giant's expression, but here you could see him looking at his coin, pondering everything that it's taken to get to where they are right now. You see Bigfoot. You see Bigfoot. But when I first saw this card, I didn't think giant because I was looking at it from the computer. And so the way the person was holding the card, it just looked like a person sitting on the ground. I didn't get the perspective of the sheep and the pasture and just the whole dimension of it. But that's our King of Coins. And I'll show you the back in case you missed it. It's not so much on the back as it is in the front. But as I mentioned, there's a cold press technique that's being used, and it gives these colors. There's no metallic inks in it, but it gives certain highlights, like you see here on the side, and here across this arm. I don't know if these are armbands, but it highlights. It gives a nice, beautiful shimmer to it. And BabaStudios were saying to me that they don't use metallic inks. It's just the process that they use, and it just gives a nice highlight to some of the areas. Even in the lettering here, King of Coins, you see the same. You have to see it with the light. It's just a little slight shimmer of it. It's not a big deck, actually. What is it? The version before this one, it's a larger version. Moon of Fortune, she has the large version of this deck. And she says it's hard for her to shuffle because it's so big. I have long fingers. I don't care if a deck is, well, I will care. But if a deck's large, I can make it work. You know, I'll buy a deck in spite of its size. If I love it that much, I'm not going to let the size of a deck put me off. So I will still purchase the deck. And there's different ways you could shuffle. Yeah, you could do side shuffle. You could do top. There's so many different names. Hi, Julianne. Guess what? I'm wrapping it up. But there's different techniques that you can use to make a large size deck work. The largest deck I have is Nature Spirit Tarot. That is, it's almost 4 by 6 inches. It's a tall deck. And I'll make it work. I'll just make it work. I just have to shuffle differently. Let's see. Julianne, I'm going to show you the back of the card. Oh, I'm going to show you the back of the card and tell me if you can guess. Yeah, in a sense. There are oracle decks that aren't that big. I think there are tarot decks that tend to be larger than the large oracle decks. But oracle decks, I think, are, what, 3 by 4, something like that? I don't measure the decks, but they're not as big as some of the larger ones. Okay, Julianne, can you guess what deck it is? Infinite intuition, do not say anything. Okay, I'm going to pull it away. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It is Marseille. It is Marseille. So this means you don't have the deck. Okay. I'm going to show it to you. Julianne Victoria is my partner in crime, so we haven't communicated in a while. This. I'm so happy, Julianne, I made this investment. You're laughing. Yeah, this is a beautiful deck, and it's my first Marseille deck. So I don't know, Julianne, how we're going to go from Marseille back to the Tarot of the Holy Light. I'll make it work, but it's going to be quite an interesting shift. So you could play back the video of the cards that I showed. I didn't show all of them. I showed like probably 2/3 of the deck, which is almost all of them. But the printing technique that's done for this deck, it's not on the back, but the technique that's done for the imaging on the deck. Here, I'll show you one card. See, if you look up here, it picks up the colors. It picks up the highlights on the borders, on the images. You can see right here as the water's being poured in. It's just a beautiful deck, and I held off on getting it. Get it. Definitely get it. And I just the overall feeling, and it's not overse with a lot of human imagery, as I mentioned earlier. Animals, there's no set scene or anything like that, and that was the appeal for me to get this deck, so I can explore more of my intuitive side and see what comes up from it. It's gonna be work, but it's gonna be work that I don't mind doing at all. And the investment that you put into such a deck, and you love it that much, you have to give back, to it. So that's going to be it's going to be interesting. The other thing I needed to point out is there is, let me see here, coins. There is an extra 3 of Cups. And let me show you the 3 of Cups that comes in pips form. And then here, I shouldn't say typical, Rider-Waite-Smith influence, 3 of Cups. I don't think it's on purpose. Well, yeah, I guess it is. It's the option if you want to use it, I guess maybe for someone who wants to have a Rider-Waite-Smith connection to this deck, but it doesn't make sense. Then you might as well have done the entire deck without pips and just put more human aspects into it. But I don't know. Which ones do you prefer? This is my choice. Yeah, it's more or less, water just coming out. The movement of water. I understand what you're saying for like, looks like the Goblet of Fire, or like fire's coming out. It's just, again, just an option. And I think I was reading somewhere that there was a problem, now that I think of it, that there was a problem with the production of this deck, where maybe there was an error. So they gave, when they reproduced the deck, they just threw in an extra three of cups. So maybe that's where the error came in the previous production of the deck. Actually, there's no water dragons. There's actually faces right at the end. Maybe you could see a little bit there if I turn like that. There's not a lot of mermaids in this deck, though. In the cups, there are the Ace of Cups. That's the only representation I see in the cups for mermaids. They do have in the court cards. Let's see. Oh, I take it back, for the Queen. And then for the Lover's card, there's the mermaid who is with her lover represented in that card. So I think that's it. That's the Mythical Creatures Tarot. This is the title card that comes with the deck. Highly recommend. It's a little bit on the pricier side, but I'm not a deck collector, so this investment for me, I really thought out before getting it, and I'm very happy with it. I was so happy with it, I decided to hold off on not telling anyone about it until the week of Samhain. So I wanted to share that. This will be a deck that I'll work with this week. I have to initiate it in and consecrate it and put it to work. As I mentioned, I did the Temperance card. That was my first card that I pulled from this deck. So I just take that as a card of just being patient with it, because this is a new way of me of reading the tarot, Marseille-wise. So I completely honor and respect that card. This is the Temperance. Beautifully done. So that's that. Any other questions? Feel free to leave in the comments. I will share this on Instagram because I did the same thing. I hadn't revealed the name of the deck yet. I'll probably share it in the next day or two on Instagram. And wow, I look forward to working with this deck the more I look at it. Thank you, Julianne. Thank you so much. Thanks for popping in and making that extra time. I appreciate it. And I know we'll be in touch soon. And I will be Monday. I will be back to doing Mystic Moon Mondays. The moon will be in Pisces, waxing as we slowly make our way to Samhain next Saturday, Halloween, October 31st. where the moon will be in Taurus, which is my sun sign. And I will explain the difference when the sun is in one sign and when the moon's in another sign, and when it's waxing and waning, and how all those energies work together or work against each other. So I will discuss that on Monday, 6:30. And then excuse me, then I do oracle readings on Wednesday. I have 4 oracle decks that I work with, and I do pick a card, if you will. If you have any requests that you like me to do for a reading, I am accepting donations. I would appreciate that. I'm doing that as well. So the listing of my next few videos are going to be on my channel, and that'll be Wednesday. And then on Halloween, I was going to be doing a marathon type of event, but I decided not to do it because everyone's busy. And I'm going to be doing something special on Halloween on my own. I haven't set up the time yet, but it'll be something very special. I want to keep the theme along the lines of Samhain. I'll do some readings, but not too much, because I want to save the rest of the energy for myself for the evening, so I could do my own practice and ritual to pay respect for the spirits that have passed on. So that'll be next Saturday on Halloween. And again, I will send some information through YouTube when I'm going to do it and whatnot. So please join me if you're going to be home Halloween night and you just want something to watch, something to hear, someone to speak to. I will be here. This is Amy, the Mystic Moon, the Mystic Rose Tarot. Have a wonderful weekend, and blessings to each and every one of you. And I hope to see you on my next few episodes. Thank you again. Bye-bye.